world of fear.
Welcome to Fear Forge, where real horror stories are forged from silence and shadow. Tonight, I'll be sharing one disturbing story. It's called Whispers from the Forgotten Realm. Turn down the lights and let's begin. For my portfolio, I parked the car in a lobby near a place called Crowden. It was barely dawn. The air was freezing, that damp, British cold that ignores your jacket and settles right in the marrow of your bones. I remember locking the car and feeling that little thrill of isolation. Just me, the gray sky, and miles of peat and rock. I walked for about 3 hours. I went off-piste, leaving the designated footpath, following a sheep trail that wound its way up a jagged ridge. The fog was thick that day. Not a white mist, but a dirty, gray soup that clung to the ground. It distorted distances. You'd think a boulder was 10 feet away, and you'd stumble over it in 2 steps. Around noon, the GPS on my phone started acting up. The little blue dot just kept spinning, unable to lock onto a satellite. I wasn't worried, not really. I had a physical map and a compass. I'm experienced. I knew if I just kept heading south, I'd hit the reservoir eventually. But then I saw the valley. It wasn't on my map. I'm certain of that. It was a steep, sudden drop in the landscape, like a scar in the earth that the heather had tried to cover up. It looked wrong. You know how nature usually has a chaotic sort of symmetry? This place looked like the earth had been cracked open by something from the inside. Against my better judgment, call it curiosity or just plain stupidity, I scrambled down the scree slope into the hollow. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Up on the ridge, the air smelled of rain and peat. Down in this hollow, it smelled stagnant, like standing water and copper, like old pennies. The second thing was the temperature. It must have dropped 5 degrees the moment I hit the bottom. My breath was pluming in front of me in thick, white clouds. I started walking along the bottom of this ravine. It was narrow, choked with gnarled trees, hawthorns mostly, but twisted into shapes that looked painful. Their branches were blackened and interlocked, forming a sort of tunnel above my head. It was dark down there, premature twilight. I walked for maybe 20 minutes, trying to find a good angle for a photo, but the light was flat and ugly. I stopped to take a drink of water, and that's when the silence hit me. Usually, even in winter, you hear things. A crow calling, the wind in the bracken, the distant hum of an aeroplane. But down there, nothing. Absolute zero. It was like the air was too thick to carry sound. I packed my water bottle away, the plastic crinkling sounding deafeningly loud, and I decided to head back up the slope. I turned around, and the slope was gone. I don't mean it had vanished. I mean the fog had dropped so heavily behind me that I couldn't see 5 feet back the way I came. And when I checked my compass, the needle was just drifting, lazily spinning in a circle, like it couldn't find north to save its life. Right? I whispered to myself, don't panic, just keep walking. It has to open up somewhere. I kept walking deeper into the hollow. The ground became boggy, sucking at my boots with every step. Squelch, squelch. Then I saw the trees. I passed a row of ancient oaks, dead and stripped of bark, and carved into the wood about eye level were scratches. Not animal marks. These were deliberate. They looked like mouths, just simple vertical gashes, dozens of them on every trunk. Like the trees were screaming silently. A chill went down my back that had nothing to do with the weather, quickened my pace. A bit further on, I found the pile. It was right in the middle of what looked like a dried-up stream bed. A pile of stones carefully stacked. A cairn. But on top of it wasn't a marker or a flag. It was a sheep's skull. That's not uncommon in the country, you see bones all the time. But this skull, the eye sockets were filled with moss packed in tight, and woven through the jawbone were strands of something colorful. I leaned in closer, clicking my torch on. It was plastic, strips of a blue cagoule maybe or a tent, shredded and woven into the bone like a grotesque decoration. That was the moment the adventure feeling died, and the primal runaway instinct kicked in. Someone had been here. Someone or something was marking this territory. I tried to climb out, I found a section of the ravine wall that looked scalable and I started scrambling up. But the rock was slick with slime. I got maybe 10 feet up, slipped, and slid right back down, jarring my ankle. "Bollocks!" I shouted. The shout echoed. It bounced off the rock walls, loud and harsh. And then something answered. It wasn't a shout back. It was soft, a sibilant hiss, carried on a breeze that I couldn't feel. SSSHHH. I froze. I stood there, clutching my ankle, staring into the gray soup of the fog. "Hello," I called out. My voice sounded thin, pathetic. SSSHHH. Here, it was faint. So faint I told myself it was the wind whistling through the dead trees. But wind doesn't articulate. Wind doesn't have cadence. I started limping, faster now, deeper into the ravine because it was the only way I could go. The light was failing fast. Real darkness was coming. The whispering stayed at the edge of my hearing. It was like tuning a radio. Sometimes it was just static. Other times I swore I heard words. Old words. Not English. It sounded guttural, wet. I felt watched. You know that prickling on the back of your neck? It was intense. I felt like there were eyes behind every twisted hawthorn bush, observing my struggle, judging my pace. Night fell like a guillotine. One minute it was gray, the next it was pitch black. I couldn't risk walking on a twisted ankle in the dark, so I had to hunker down. I didn't have a tent, just a thermal survival bag, one of those bright orange plastic bivy bags. I found a small overhang of rock, a shallow cave, and crawled inside. I sat there with my back against the cold stone, my knees pulled up to my chest, clutching a small penknife. I turned my torch off to save batteries. That was a mistake. The moment the light died, the valley came alive. It wasn't loud. That's the worst part. It wasn't a cacophony. It was subtle. I heard footsteps in the wet leaves. Crunch, stop, crunch, stop. 2 legs, not 4. I held my breath until my lungs burned. The footsteps circled my little overhang. They were slow, deliberate, heavy. Whatever was walking out there was big. Then, the whispering started again. But it wasn't coming from the distance anymore. It was right outside the cave. Cold, so cold, my blood ran ice cold. The voice, it sounded like me. It was mimicking my own voice, but flattened, devoid of emotion, like a recording being played at the wrong speed. "Help me, ankle, bollocks." It was repeating the things I'd said earlier, testing the sounds. I squeezed my eyes shut. I remember thinking, if I don't look, it's not real. If I don't look, it can't hurt me. Childish logic, I know. But when you're alone in the dark with something that steals your voice, logic goes out the window. A smell drifted into the cave. That coppery, stagnant smell, but stronger now. Rotten meat and old earth. Then, I heard the sound of fabric rubbing against stone. Something was leaning against the entrance of my overhang. I opened my eyes. It was darker than the night, a silhouette against the slightly lighter gray of the fog. It was shaped like a man, but wrong. Too tall, elongated. The limbs were spindly, like birch branches. It was crouching, peering in. Couldn't see a face. Just a pale, smooth surface where a face should be. No eyes, no mouth, but the sound came from it. "Hello?" It whispered, using my voice. "Hello?" It reached a hand out. The fingers were impossibly long, pale white, with too many joints. They twitched, exploring the air, inches from my boot. Couldn't scream. My throat had seized up. I just gripped the knife so hard my hand went numb. The hand brushed against my survival bag. Rustle. The thing recoiled, like the plastic was hot. It let out a sound. Not a whisper this time, but a low, clicking rattle from deep within its chest. It stayed there for hours. I'm not joking. Hours. Just crouching at the entrance, rattling and whispering fragments of my own sentences back to me. It wanted me to come out. It wanted me to engage with it. It was luring me. I knew with absolute certainty that if I spoke to it, if I acknowledged it, I would never leave that valley. So I sat in the dark, tears rolling down my face, silent as the stone behind me. while the thing from the forgotten realm tried to learn how to be me. I don't remember the dawn coming. I just remember the gray light slowly filtering in and realizing the shape was gone. I didn't wait. I didn't check my ankle. I scrambled out of that hole and ran. I ran until my lungs burned, blindly clawing my way up the ravine walls, slipping, cutting my hands, not caring. I broke through the fog layer around 8 a.m. The sun hit my face, and I collapsed on the heather, sobbing. I was back on the moors. I could see the car park in the distance, a tiny speck of civilization. I drove home in silence. No radio, no music. I double-locked my door when I got to my flat. I told myself it was hypothermia, hallucinations brought on by stress and cold. That's the logical explanation, isn't it? The brain playing tricks in sensory deprivation. But here's the thing. I live in a city now, Birmingham, noisy, crowded, concrete. I surround myself with people. But sometimes, late at night, when the traffic dies down and the block of flats gets quiet, I can hear it, not in my head, in the vents, in the drain pipes, faint scratching sound, and a voice, sounding exactly like mine, whispering from the dark. Hello? It knows where I am, and I don't think it's forgotten me. So, if you're ever hiking in the peaks and you see a valley that isn't on the map, don't go down there. And for God's sake, don't speak, because something is listening, and it's looking for a voice to call its own.